From flashing fans to broken rings, from insane jumps to pure carnage, these wildest WWE moments are gonna blow your mind. It all started when Edge had absolutely zero chill at WrestleMania 22. Edge and Mick Foley were beating the absolute hell out of each other with barbed wire and thumbtacks. But then Lita lit up a table on the outside, and what Edge did next was pure madness. Edge speared Foley through the ring ropes and threw a flaming table on the outside. But at least Edge knew what he was getting into. Unlike Shane McMahon, who got his eggs fried by Kane, after unmasking and turning heel in 2003, Kane was going after everyone from Rob Van Dam to Eric Bischoff to Linda McMahon. So naturally, Linda's son Shane came back for revenge. But instead, Kane would tie Shane to the ring post and proceed to electrocute Shane McMahon's family jewels on live television. But speaking of Shane putting his body on the line, you gotta see what he did at SummerSlam 2000. Shane was defending the Hardcore Championship against Steve Blackman, and these two climbed all the way up the Titantron scaffolding. Blackman then hit McMahon with a kendo stick, causing him to fall from the steel structure onto the floor 40 feet backwards. And if that wasn't crazy enough, Blackman hit an elbow drop on Shane from 25 feet up. But while Shane has been doing crazy stuff his entire life, Daddy Vince has been setting the standards even higher with his wild antics. Leading up to WrestleMania 22, Vince and HBK had been going at it for months, and at Mania, Shawn brought back the old DX attitude. Michaels placed a trash can over the head and chest of Mr. McMahon, placed him atop a table, and scaled a massive ladder in the corner. Then HBK does the DX crotch chop and just launches himself off that ladder with an elbow drop straight through the trash can. But if you thought Vince was insane for putting his body on the line, wait till you see when WWE had people thinking Vince actually died. At the end of Raw on June 11, 2007, Vince McMahon entered his limousine when it suddenly exploded. The whole limo just went up in flames on live TV. Some fans obviously knew better, but there is no question that the storyline got people talking. Even Donald Trump didn't know if it was real and called to check on Vince. WWE treated McMahon's kayfabe death as a legit thing until the Chris Benoit incident happened a few days later and they had to scrape the whole angle. But that was nothing compared to when Triple H decided to take things into Randy Orton's living room. Randy had been messing with Triple H's family for weeks, attacking his wife Stephanie and father-in-law Vince. So Triple H just kicked down Randy's front door like he was Michael Myers and broke into his house with a sledgehammer. Then the game just yeeted Randy straight through the window. Randy was laid out on his lawn, and then the cops showed up to arrest Triple H. The segment was absolutely bonkers, and I'm still not over it. But speaking of wild segments, you simply cannot forget Jeff Hardy, because prime Jeff Hardy didn't care about the laws of physics or his own body. On an episode of Raw in 2008, Jeff was feuding with Randy Orton and climbed all the way up to the top of the stage scaffolding. And what this madman did was hit a Swanton bomb off the Raw stage onto Randy Orton through a table. The hang time on that was insane, but what Edge did to Jeff at WrestleMania 17 might be even crazier when he speared the charismatic Enigma in midair. But speaking of Edge, let's talk about his match against John Cena at Backlash, when towards the end, Big Show grabbed Cena and chokeslammed him off the stage through this giant spotlight rig. The whole electrical box just exploded with sparks flying everywhere. Cena went crashing through metal and lights and wiring, and it looked like a car crash scene. Big Show really tried to send Cena to the Shadow Realm with that one, but Big Show wasn't done breaking things. At Vengeance 2011, Big Show and Mark Henry were both in the ring when the impossible happened. The ring literally collapsed under their combined weight when Henry superplexed Big Show from the top turnbuckle. And speaking of broken rings, how about Brock Lesnar's tractor antics at SummerSlam? At SummerSlam 2022, Brock showed up for his match versus Roman in complete cowboy drip. The Beast Incarnate rolled up to the ring on an actual tractor wearing a cowboy hat and everything, but here's where it gets absolutely insane. Lesnar literally hopped in that tractor mid-match and lifted the entire ring off the ground while Roman Reigns was still in it. Only Brock Lesnar would think to bring farm equipment to a wrestling match and actually use it as a weapon. That's something we might never see in the WWE again. But nothing compares to Kane's debut at Bad Blood 1997. The Undertaker had Shawn Michaels beaten in their Hell in a Cell match. Then the lights went out, the music hit, and Paul Bearer came out with this massive masked monster. Kane proceeded to rip the door of the cell off its hinges, just straight up tore it off like it was cardboard. Then Kane walked in, stood face to face with his brother, and tombstoned The Undertaker, changing the entire history of WWE. And while everyone talks about Taker throwing Mankind off the top of the cell, what Triple H did to Foley was absolutely barbaric. At No Way Out 2000, Triple H backdropped Mick Foley from the top of the cell. Foley went flying off that 16-foot structure and crashed hard on the ring canvas below. Oh, and if you thought that was bad, Triple H literally pedigreed Mick Foley right onto a pile of thumbtacks at the Royal Rumble 2000. That visual of Foley looking like a human pincushion is burned into everyone's memory. But while we're speaking of wild antics, Randy Orton as the Legend Killer was an absolute menace to society. Randy took things to a dark place when he set The Undertaker's casket on fire at No Mercy 2005. Randy had just beaten Taker in a casket match and wasn't satisfied with just winning. He poured gasoline all over the casket and lit that thing up with Taker still inside it. That's some villain movie stuff right there. And speaking of Taker getting brutalized, Edge sent him crashing through multiple tables at One Night Stand 2008. But no compilation of crazy WWE clips would be complete without this next moment on our list. Evan Bourne was coming off the top rope with a high-flying move, and Randy just snatched him out of the sky with an RKO. But what about the moment that shifted the landscape of WWE's PG era? During an episode of Raw in 2010, 8 rookies from NXT just showed up and destroyed everything. They beat down John Cena, CM Punk, and everyone else in sight. They ripped apart the ring, broke the announce tables, and it was complete and utter chaos. The WWE Universe had never seen anything like it. Wade Barrett and his crew just invaded Raw and laid waste to the entire roster. And speaking of laying waste to your ops, what Kevin Owens did to Tama Tonga at Backlash 2024 was absolutely ruthless. During a tag team match, Kevin hit Tama Tonga with a brainbuster through a pile of steel chairs as Tama looked like he got hit by a truck. KO's been doing crazy stuff his whole career, but this one was especially vicious. Just like when poor Daniel Bryan got hit with an absolutely deadly combo at WrestleMania 30. Batista performed a Batista bomb on Bryan onto the Spanish announce table, while Orton immediately combined with an inverted version of an RKO. The combo looked brutal, but somehow Bryan survived and came back to win the whole thing. But you know what moment had the whole WWE Universe losing their minds? When Stone Cold Steve Austin pulled up in a beer truck. In March 1999, Stone Cold Steve Austin drove a beer truck down the aisle on Raw and used a fire hose to hose down the corporation with beer. Vince McMahon was literally doing the breaststroke in a puddle of beer, and Austin got revenge on his ops, Stone Cold style. And speaking of revenge, what happened at SummerSlam 2008 was straight diabolical. The Undertaker had already defeated Edge in a Hell in a Cell match, but the dead man wasn't done. Taker marched back into the ring, set up a ladder, and then chokeslammed Edge straight through the ring. The canvas just caved in, and the rated R superstar disappeared into the abyss below. Smoke and fire shot up from the hole, and it looked like Edge was literally sent to hell. But speaking of Edge getting destroyed, you simply cannot forget Unforgiven 2006. Throughout the summer of 2006, Edge and Cena dominated WWE Raw thanks to their heated feud over the WWE Championship. The feud finally culminated at Unforgiven when Edge defended the title against Cena in a TLC match. During the match, Cena hit Edge with an attitude adjustment from the top of a ladder through 2 stacked tables. The impact was sickening. Edge was laid out in the wreckage while Cena grabbed the title. That's the kind of spot that defines a rivalry. But nothing could prepare the WWE Universe for what happened at WrestleMania 30 when Brock Lesnar ended The Undertaker's undefeated streak, 21 wins in a row at WrestleMania, gone in 3 seconds. The crowd sat in stunned silence. Fans were crying, mouths hanging open in disbelief. Even Paul Heyman looked shocked. The streak that was supposed to last forever was over. Lesnar broke the impossible and rewrote wrestling history. And you know Lesnar's got a thing for breaking rings, right? During an episode of SmackDown in 2003, Lesnar and Big Show both climbed to the top turnbuckle. Lesnar hit a superplex on Big Show and the ring literally imploded. The canvas collapsed under all that weight, and that visual of the broken ring is still iconic over 20 years later. But speaking of iconic moments, how about the night Randy Orton crossed all limits when he kissed Stephanie McMahon while Triple H was handcuffed to the ropes? Randy had been messing with Triple H's family for weeks, and this was the ultimate disrespect. He DDT'd Stephanie. Then while she was unconscious, Randy leaned down and kissed her right in front of a helpless Triple H. And speaking of Randy's wild antics, he literally burned down the Wyatt family compound. In 2017, Randy showed up at Bray Wyatt's creepy house and set the whole thing on fire. Flames engulfed the building while Randy just watched it burn and stood there farming aura. But while Randy was burning things, his biggest rival was doing the impossible. At One Night Stand 2007, Cena hit an attitude adjustment on the Great Khali from a crane. And at WrestleMania 25, Cena did something even crazier. He lifted both Big Show and Edge at the same time for a double attitude adjustment. The strength required to pull that off is superhuman. That's Cena showing why he was WWE's top guy for so long. But nobody was ready for what happened at Elimination Chamber 2025. After years of being the ultimate babyface, Cena finally snapped. The whole WWE universe watched in shock as Cena turned his back on everything he stood for. And if you liked this video, check out this video next.